Breaking news, this just in the past week, the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates by 75 basis points. The US GDP is now negative for a second quarter in a row, officially signaling what used to be called a recession. And despite all of this going on, there are still hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars being raised for companies in the crypto space. I will cover all of this and more in today's video, so let's dive straight into it. If you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Dirk. Subscribe to the channel below if you haven't done so already. Click that notification bell, and if you want to get on my email list to get updates every time I upload a video, it is the first link in the description down below. The Federal Reserve has just raised interest rates by 75 basis points earlier this week in the FOMC meeting, and basically what this means is they're still continuing to put the screws on the overall asset markets, because increasing interest rates once again means it gets more expensive to borrow money, which has a negative effect on stock markets, cryptocurrencies, and housing markets. It just overall makes it more expensive to speculate, to borrow money. That's what we've been seeing since last year. As they've been increasing interest rates, the prices of assets and the markets have been coming down. The news that also came out is that the GDP, the gross domestic product, fell 0.9% in the second quarter. So the official definition of a recession used to be that if you have two negative quarters in a row, it is officially a recession. But they have started to change the definition of what a recession is. So now, these days, they're not calling it a recession anymore because they have changed that definition. But remember, guys, it used to be called a recession when this happened 2 quarters in a row. Then we have a finance company called Babel Finance that has lost over $280 million in proprietary trading with customer funds. So these guys were actually very, very bad, because what they did is they took customer funds without telling those customers, and they took those funds and took risky bets with them. Basically, they traded with leverage or futures. We don't know the details specifically, allegedly again, and they lost that money. So that means the customers lost that money, which again leads to this enormous fallout across the space. And this is what we've been seeing. This has been the problem in the crypto space. It's basically not that there has been excessive risk that has gone wrong, or excessive risk taking that has led to these losses. It's basically people just being downright dishonest and probably criminal in this case, where they just take money that doesn't belong to them, speculate with it, go gamble with it, and they lose it. So Babel Finance isn't the only crypto company that has allegedly done this. We've seen more and more of this, and this is just really, really bad practice. Hopefully regulation is going to come in future and really avoid this kind of thing, or prevent this thing from happening. So what has been happening is that platforms and exchanges make these promises to customers that, hey, you can deposit your crypto with us, it's going to be safe, and then you can trade and earn yield and that sort of thing. And customers thinking, oh, well, that's great, because if my crypto is there, I can withdraw it anytime they want. And usually that would be the case, because that is usually how a broker or an exchange would end up making profits, right? They make money on the spread of the fees and maybe some fees on services that they offer buying and selling. That is all that they should be doing. There shouldn't be the case that the customer's funds are not there, because if everyone just deposits and those funds are there, if they want to withdraw, then there should be no issues withdrawing. The exchange can still make profit from the spreads, right, from the buying and selling and the services. But it is a completely different story if that exchange or that lending platform then takes those customer funds and starts gambling with it without the customer's knowledge or consent. That's basically criminal. So I think we're going to see a lot of change in the industry as a result of this. A lot more stricter rules for these exchanges and lending platforms. But basically, yeah, Babel Finance lost over $280 million. And as a result, there is a crypto exchange called Zipmex, which has now filed for bankruptcy protection in Singapore. They were actually operating in multiple countries. Zipmex also in Australia and Singapore, I believe. But they had exposure to Babel Finance and Celsius, and as a result, they've gone under now. They've had to file for bankruptcy protection. And again, that's another case of like, why, if this is an exchange, again, if people deposited money there, customers deposited money, why is this customer money being exposed to other companies like Babel Finance and Celsius? Why, if Babel Finance went down, why does that affect the deposits of customers that, as far as I know, didn't give their consent for their deposits to be used in speculation on other companies or other risky investments. Now, moving over to some positive news, we have UK banking giant Barclays, which has invested $2 billion in crypto firm Copper. There's actually a huge amount of money still being invested every single week. As you can see, every single episode when I do this every weekend, you can see the amount of money being raised. We have Charles Schwab here launching first crypto-related ETF. That is obviously huge. The first day of trading is expected to be on or about August 4th, 2022, which is just around the corner. Then we have cross-chain bridge Nomad reveals crypto heavyweight backers for a $22.4 million funding round with Coinbase Ventures and OpenSea, who were among the additional backers named for the April funding round. Then we have Variant. Okay, they're a crypto venture firm. They announced the launch of 2 new venture funds on Thursday. It raised $300 million for so-called Opportunity Fund, as well as a $150 million fund to invest in more nascent startup projects. Then we have Unstoppable Domains, which has reached a unicorn status after the latest raise. They raised $65 million Series A led by Pantera Capital, which has lifted Unstoppable Domains' valuation. And Unstoppable Domains is a company working on NFT domains, so domains like a .com domain or a .net domain, but this case they are NFT domains that you can own outright with no annual renewals, and they are like .crypto or .bitcoin domains. I actually have a video here on the channel that I made many months ago. I will link to it up here or in the description down below, so you can go and check that out for yourself. Very cool what they're working on, and it seems pretty promising for the future. And then finally we have Aptos Labs, which raised $150 million, more than doubling valuation. And again, that is another huge amount of money that is being invested into the crypto space. And according to Cointelegraph's research, VCs have invested $14.67 billion into blockchain startups in Q2. That's only in Q2 of this year. Billions and billions and billions of dollars are still being invested, even with these bearish prices, even with the global economy seeming with a negative sentiment, even with inflation being high. All this money is still continued to be poured into the crypto space. And again, in my opinion, it's just a matter of time before we get another major bull run, and all this money is going to result in just much more adoption, much more growth, much more attention in the space, and hopefully finally also a lot more improved infrastructure and actual apps and applications that people can start using, that we do get some sort of real crypto adoption and not just pure speculation. So that is it for this week's edition of the weekly news. It was a quick one, but as you can see, there is still a lot of positivity for the space and for the future ahead. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video.